Justice in the Wild West wasn't about rules. It was about fear. If you broke the law, you didn't just get a fine. You could be hanged, whipped, or worse. Some punishments were so brutal, they shocked even the toughest cowboys. Think you've heard it all? These stories say otherwise. Number 12. Public hangings. In the Wild West, justice was fast and fatal. If you were caught stealing, murdering, or even accused of something serious, you did not always get a trial. What you got was a rope. Hangings were the go-to punishment, especially when a judge was days away. The townspeople took the law into their own hands, and it was messy. Number 11. Branding. If you were caught stealing, some places would not hang you. They would burn you, not kill you, but mark you for life. A hot iron with the letter T was pressed onto your cheek or hand. T for thief. Some got an H for horse thief. No way to hide it. You would walk into town, and everyone would know. It did not end after the pain. People avoided you. Jobs? Gone. Respect? Lost forever. Your crime followed you like a shadow, burned into your skin. Number 10. The whipping post. Not every crime got the rope or the iron. Sometimes it got the whip. In Texas, a teenage boy was caught stealing boots. He wasn't hanged. He was not branded. He was tied to a post in the middle of town and lashed 20 times with a bullwhip. People watched as blood ran down his back. Some laughed. Others just stood there, silent. The whipping post stayed up as a reminder. Steal once, suffer in front of everyone. Number 9. Horse thief execution. Now, in the Wild West, stealing a horse was not just stealing transport. It was stealing someone's life. And the punishment? Often death. No questions asked. Montana was notorious. If you were caught with another man's horse, the town did not wait. You were taken to the outskirts and hanged on sight. No trial, no mercy. The reasoning? A man without a horse could die in the desert. So, stealing one was as bad as murder. And that was only the beginning. Number 8. Tarring and feathering. This one sounds strange, but it was terrifying. If the town thought someone had done wrong, maybe cheating others or abusing their power, they did not always wait for a court. Instead, a group of angry people would grab the person, hold him down, pour hot tar over his skin, and then dump feathers on top. The pain from the hot tar was horrible. It stuck to the skin and ripped it off when it hardened. The feathers were not just to humiliate. They stuck to the burns and made healing worse. After the punishment, the person was often thrown out of town, covered in burns, stuck with shame. Number 7. The stocks. Imagine being locked in place, head and hands, trapped in wooden boards in the middle of the street. That is what happened when people were put in the stocks. You couldn't move. You could not defend yourself. You sat there, exposed for hours or even days. People walking by would laugh, spit, throw rotten food, or worse. Some towns used this for drunkards, liars, or anyone who disrespected authority. There were no guards. You were left to suffer whatever came your way. Number 6. The gallows. Walk. This was not just a hanging. It was a show. When someone was sentenced to death, they did not just take them out back. They marched them through town. Everyone came out to watch. Kids, families. Some even brought lunch. The guilty man had to walk slowly, knowing he was about to die. Sometimes he was made to wear his crime on a sign around his neck. The sheriff would shout the charges. People would shout back, calling him names, throwing things, cheering for his death. When they got to the gallows, the rope was waiting. A few words were said, then the floor dropped. It was not about justice, it was about fear. The town wanted everyone to remember, break the law, and this is what happens to you. Number 5. The vigilante whipping. When the law was not strong enough, or the people did not trust the sheriff, vigilante groups took over. These were locals who believed in frontier justice, and they had their own rules. If someone was caught cheating, abusing others, or even just being unwanted, the vigilantes might drag them out at night and tie them to a post or tree. Then came the whip. Sometimes it was a belt, sometimes a braided leather whip. The goal wasn't to kill, but to leave scars and pain the person would never forget. In some cases, they were whipped until they passed out. Afterward, they were left bleeding in the dirt, warned never to return. Number 4. Banishment. In the Wild West, sometimes the worst punishment was no pain. it was isolation. If someone caused too much trouble, they weren't always beaten or jailed. Instead, they were told to leave town and never come back. This might sound light, but in the Old West, being kicked out meant serious danger. Towns were far apart. Survival outside meant facing wild animals, bandits, or starvation. You couldn't just call for help or hop on a bus. You were on your own. And if the person ever came back, things got much worse. Some were shot on sight. Others were tied to horses and dragged out again. Banishment wasn't a clean break. It was a slow sentence to fear and loneliness. Number 3, hanging by the thumbs. This torture wasn't always meant to kill, but it came close. The accused would be tied up by their thumbs and left to hang from a beam or tree. Sometimes they were tied behind their back, making it even worse. The pain in the joints was excruciating. People screamed as their arms went numb. Blood flow was cut off and many fainted. If left too long, permanent nerve damage or broken thumbs could follow. This punishment was used to force confessions or as a warning. It didn't always leave scars you could see, but the mental and physical damage stuck around for life. It was a slow, silent way of breaking someone down without firing a single shot. Number 2, scalping. Scalping is one of the most feared and gruesome punishments from the frontier days. Though it was often associated with Native American warriors during conflicts, it wasn't limited to them. Sometimes bounty hunters or ruthless outlaws used scalping as a brutal message to their enemies or rivals. The act involved slicing the scalp from a person's head, usually while they were still alive. The victim would be held down or knocked unconscious, and then the attacker would use a sharp blade to cut the skin from the top of the skull. It was fast, bloody, and agonizing. This wasn't just torture, it was psychological warfare. A scalped head was horrifying to look at and sent a chilling message to others. Step out of line, and this could happen to you. Survivors, if any, were left with deep wounds, infections, and lifelong trauma. Number 1, firing squad. The firing squad was one of the few formal executions in the Wild West, but that didn't make it any less terrifying. It was usually reserved for serious crimes like murder, desertion from the army, or betrayal. Sometimes local militias or vigilantes took it upon themselves to carry out the sentence. The convicted person would be tied or stood against a wall or tree. A group of shooters, usually 5 to 10 men, would line up a short distance away. One or more rifles were loaded with blanks, so no one knew who fired the fatal shot. This was supposed to lessen the guilt of the shooters, but it didn't always work. As the countdown ended, bullets tore through the body in seconds. Death wasn't always instant, especially if shots missed vital areas. The spectacle drew crowds. People watched in silence or cheered. It was justice, entertainment, and a warning rolled into one. Even though it was official, the firing squad showed how harsh and final punishment could be when a gun replaced the judge.